Good afternoon, everybody. It's Stephen Paul from WinExtra bringing you your Microsoft Daily Brief for January 17th, 2011. And I guess before we get into the Microsoft type of news or whatever, we should send out our condolences to all the Apple fanboys out there that, Steve Jobs is ill.
Yeah, he's apparently sent out an email that said the board has approved an extended leave of absence, or a leave of absence due to his, so he can focus on his personal health, which of course leaves Tim Curry in charge. And needless to say, it is the only news on the internet today. Yes.
I was amazed. I opened up my feed reader, and I have my copy there, and all I am seeing is Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs. I'm going...
Well, I'm kind of not surprised because, more than any other company, I think Apple is driven by the vision of a single man, which is Steve Jobs. And Apple's stock, shares, product line tends to live and die by his vision and his availability. And the last time he went on medical leave, and it was expected that he might not come back, Apple's share tanked. I mean, it dropped badly. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
Well, it was also convenient that they announced this, on Martin Luther King Day when all the stock exchanges in the U.S. are closed.
It doesn't matter. They'll still go down. Yeah. They'll still go down when they come up. But, looking at his email, it's rather interesting. He talks about how Tim Curry and the crew at Apple will... he has their basically, I've asked Tim Cook, to be responsible for all of Apple's day-to-day operations, and I have great confidence that Tim and the rest of the executive management team will do a terrific job executing the exciting plans we have in place for 2011. Now, he does say that he'll be back as soon as he can, but that rings to me of, I'm not coming back in 2011.
Yeah.
Because the normal, at least to my mind, the correct thing to say there if you're coming back in 2011 will be, I have every confidence in them to run things during my absence or during my recovery. But to say 2011, I mean that at the earliest he's not planning on coming back till next year.
Yeah.
But you know what? As much as we beat on Steve Jobs, I think we have to also wish him well. Because without somebody at the helm of Apple, you need great companies in order for companies to compete and drive innovation. So
yeah. Anyway, that out of the way. This first post is a little bit of a PSA from WinExtra, courtesy of Windows Observer, and it's the reason I included this is SSD drives or solid state drives are becoming increasingly popular. The problem is size of them. There aren't that many gigabytes. They'll have 128. I think now is the biggest one. So really, making them as your primary system drive in a Windows machine is impractical, considering that most of your temporary files sit on your system drive.
128 gigs is fine, but I think what the challenges to most people is not the fact that it's a solid state drive or the size of the drive. The challenge to most people is, hang on, if I'm going to stick this new drive in my laptop or my PC, how do I back up all my data? How do I back up my existing drive? How do I put all my, how do I use my existing drive as a D drive, as a secondary drive to store all my data in? And this walkthrough, it's a pretty simple walkthrough actually about how the author upgrades his Asus EPC 1000HE to have a solid state drive. It's simple, but if you are interested in upgrading to a solid state drive, it's worth having a look at.
Yeah, because he said, I recently decided to make the same move on my desktop with one additional accommodation. I'm going to use the SSD drive as a boot drive for Windows 7 and then the SATA 2 standard hard drive as a storage location, which means having to shift a lot of built-in Windows features to using a drive that's not normally meant to. And yeah, Richard Hayes, the author of the post, it does actually a really good job, so I felt it well worth sharing just as a future note for those of you who are looking at going down this road.
Yeah. Now, moving on, we missed a brilliant segue, or we would have had a brilliant segue if we didn't talk about that last PSA about SSDs. We could have went from Steve Jobs to Steve Ballmer, who was interviewed by USA Today. And the takeaway, what are the takeaways? I know what my takeaways are from this. One, that as we have been saying all along, the Xbox is not a games console, and he doesn't think of it that way either. And two, that Ballmer thinks Facebook is seriously overvalued.
Well, okay, now to be fair, let's get the actual quote in here. The question was given to him: is Facebook really worth $50 billion, about 1/5 of Microsoft's market value? His answer was, it's worth exactly what investors will pay for it. They're a great partner, and I love them.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't be any more coy. I mean, he's turning around and basically saying, you know what? If you pay for it, if you think it's worth that's all well and good for you. But, you know, the rest of us know better. And my video's gone all
wonky.
Is it?
Yes, it has.
Am I locked up on your side, sir?
Yes, you are.
All right, let me bring my video back into play there. Hopefully I'm back now. But, you know, not just talking about Facebook. Again, it was very interesting. People are pushing him about the, or Maria, whatever her name is, I can't even pronounce it, was pushing him about, you know, the Xbox, obviously, in Kinect sales. And he turned around and he said, you know, flat out that, you know, the Xbox is not, it's not a games console. It's a home entertainment system, you know. It's, what was his exact words on that there, Hudson?
The Xbox isn't a game console. Xbox is a family entertainment center. It's a place to socialize. It's a place to watch TV. We have Hulu coming. It's the only system where you are the controller, your voice, your gestures, your body.
Yeah. You know what? It also interested me in this conversation, during that interview. She mentioned tablet PCs again, stealing from the PC market. And I'm sort of wondering, why do we keep calling tablets? Why do we classify them as not being PCs? They are personal computers. They're just a different form factor. I
don't know. It seems to be this concept, and I think that. Excuse me. I think it's driven because of the iPad. The iPad is seen as a consumption device. Okay? So going forward, everybody is underneath the assumption or the opinion that if you are going to build a successful tablet, it has to be of the iPad mold, which means it is a consumption rather than a creative computer-based.
Yeah, I know, because Apple fans will be the first ones to tell you, well, you can create content on the iPad. Of course you can. But really, in the grander scheme of things, is that really where content creation is happening, and is it the best platform for content creation? No, it's not. And I find it ridiculous, because when you look at what it is, it's a computer with a screen, a hardware, and an input device. Yeah. It's a computer.
Yeah.
Personal computer. Why does a personal computer have to be a laptop, a notebook, or a desktop?
Well, okay, you know where, and this is something that I think, I'm going to probably end up writing something on about it, but one of the biggest things I took away from CES had to be the Motorola Atrix. That, to me, is the future desktop. Mm-hmm. Okay?
The Atrix, is that the one with the cell phone that you plug into the back, and then it has a full screen keyboard, a full screen and a full keyboard,
or a full, like a laptop? It
becomes basically a laptop, or
a full desktop. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just a cell phone, and it plugs into the dock and powers everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that to me is the coming desktop. All right,
yeah, and that brings us into then what that makes what Intel was saying all the more relevant, because during an earnings call during the week, Paul Otellini of Intel said, you know what, we're planning on bringing Windows 8 to smartphones.
Yes.
On the Intel platform, on the Intel chipset, because we can do system on a chip.
Yeah.
And that then tells me, okay, if you can have Windows 8, right, it's no longer about it being, Microsoft and Intel. It's Microsoft and ARM, or, anybody and anybody.
And
as long as it's a computer, it's still a PC.
And you see, the thing is, you tie in, okay, the availability now, because it just came out, a wireless graphics card, okay, it was just premiered. You've got mediocre wireless sound. You've got your wireless keyboards and your wireless mouse to a point where it doesn't matter anymore where you plug in.
Exactly.
And to me, that is, if Microsoft doesn't take what Motorola's done and take a very serious, hard look at it and say, wait a minute, this could be where Windows...
But you have to think that they really are, because, you take this, right? It's a Samsung Vibrant, okay? You have your 1 gigahertz processor in there, your Snapdragon or whatever the heck is in this, and you have your USB out, you have your Bluetooth, you have your connections for if you want to hook up to HDMI to your TV or whatever you want. So all these components are already there.
Yep.
But now we're seeing a major operating system coming to it.
Even my basic feature phone, okay, it's an LG, it has Wi-Fi. I can connect in through, and has 3G.
Yeah.
So
all the functions of your PC are in one place.
Yep.
And Intel is now saying, okay, so we're just going to bring Windows 8 to it altogether.
Yeah.
And that means that we as tech reporters, everybody in the tech blogosphere, has to sit back and reevaluate and say, what is a PC? Because the word PC stands for personal computer. It doesn't stand for desktop or laptop or tablet or,
But
personal.
I still come back to what I said not even a couple months ago, that was in the next 5 years. I'm actually going to revise this now. I'm going to say it's an even shorter period of time, that what we can perceive as the desktop, it will totally and utterly change.
Hey, it's already happening. It's already happening. All right. I think of that we need to wrap up.
Yep.
For today's show. Sorry for ranting a bit, folks. We got a bit lost today because, let's be honest, there wasn't a lot of news, but still plenty to talk about. Exactly, and we hope you'll come back to join us tomorrow. In between now and then, you can subscribe to us on youtube.com/winextra, or you can drop along to iTunes and search for WinExtra to get this as an audio podcast. And in the meantime, you'll find a lot more Microsoft news on winextra.com.
So until tomorrow, this is Stephen, that's Paul, this has been WinExtra's Daily Brief for January 17th, 2011. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a good one, folks.